Alright, what I'm going to do here is show you how to add a bit of tension to a Shimano Road rear derailleur. Makes a world of difference when you're riding off-road or in a one-by application. What you're going to need, along with a Shimano Road rear derailleur, anything will do, Dura-Ace, 105, Ultegra, I've seen it work with even the 10-speed older stuff. You'll need a number 1 or a JIS driver. A 2 is too big for this. You'll need a 3 mil and then a 5, whatever you're comfortable with. So the first thing that you're going to need to do, if you have not done it already to get your derailleur off the bike, is you're going to need to take off the plates connected to your pulleys. So once those are loose, just set them to the side. Try not to get them too dirty. And what you are left with is one 5 mil bolt that pops out. But before you do that, I want you to notice this little stopper pin right here. You can see it a little bit better on the other derailleur that I have pulled apart. But this is removable. You want to take that out before that 5 mil bolt. Sometimes they're in there a little bit tight, so if you are able to get some pressure on and it doesn't want to move, I would recommend grabbing something like a narrow vice grip. You might scratch a little bit, but it's better than blowing that out entirely. So you're going to have to rotate the cage away from the body a little bit. Take that screw out, and then be very careful about letting the tension off the cage, because it's going to want to whip back. You'll need to move the body out of the way, and now it's pretty loose. So it's safe to take off the 5 mil. And that bolt on the Ultegra is attached to the plate, so it's going to come off with it. What I want you to notice is there's this spring up here, and that there's 2 holes to choose from here. Every Shimano Road rear derailleur has 2 tension settings, and as far as I know of, they always ship out in the low tension setting, so you get a nice silky smooth shift, but you don't have the best chain retention. So I don't want to pull out the washer's attached to that, which is just fine, but to give you a better idea, in this other one, you've got 1 hole in there, and then you've got the spring. So the spring sits in the hole, and once it's found its spot, then you can choose one of the tension holes, the low or the high tension. So to put this back together, you need to think about how your derailleur is oriented. It would be attached to the frame like this, assuming that's the front of the bike, and you would want the cage to pull back. So when you're trying to put it back together, you would think about which way the cage would be. So if you want it to pull back a little bit further, and the cage winds forward in order to provide tension, then if you have it on this setting, it doesn't get as much tension on the spring when you rotate it backwards. So if you want more tension, you're going to move it to the little slot that's a little bit further down, and then you're going to push that in, and holding that, take your 5 mil, tighten it up. I'm not aware of any official specs. If you're somebody who has to torque everything to a very specific, I would guess 3 or 4 Newton meter, and you could grab your 5, put it in. I've never had one fall apart, so I've never thought too much about it. And then you're going to need to add some tension to this before putting that stopper pin back in. So rotate a little bit to clear the body, twist it around, and then you probably want to use your index finger or your off-season gut. Who am I kidding? That's an in-season gut. You may have to just kind of set the stopper pin in there, unless you were smart enough to grab a magnetic driver first. This could end up being the trickiest part. So once you've set it in there, take your driver and mess it up. I don't think this needs to be super tight. I mean, you could probably put a little dab of Loctite on there if you really wanted to. Then you're going to put your derailleur plates back together. So remember your tension pulley, and it should say somewhere on there, is going to go furthest away. The guide pulley, I don't think it really matters which direction that one goes. And then the tension pulley at the bottom, it is directional, so you can see a little bit of an arrow on there of which way it wants to rotate. And the screw for that is on the other side. Again, it's snug. I'm not aware of what the official torque spec is, but you're not going too crazy on them. So then once you're done with that, if you hold it in place and you rotate that assembly backwards, you're going to notice there is way more tension on there. So when you've got this attached to your frame, you're going to have way more spring pulling that chain back. It's going to help with chain retention and give you a much better performance, the 1x, off-road, whatever you have. Good luck!